Hello and welcome to the Surviving and Thriving podcast series. I'm your host, Casey Miller. So the purpose of this podcast is to provide you with the knowledge that you need to become the CEO of your health and become the best version of yourself. I really, truly believe this. The top 3 things that you could ever invest in your life are going to be your health, who you surround yourself with, and acquiring more knowledge. If you continuously pour into these 3 cups, I promise you, your life will change dramatically for the better. Now, luckily, this podcast will pour into your health and knowledge. But if you want to surround yourself with like-minded people who will push you to win, go ahead and join our Surviving and Thriving community. We'd love to have you. The link is going to be below in the description. Before we get into our episode, I want to take a quick second to thank our sponsor, Legion Athletics. I've been in the game for a long time, and it's really hard to find supplements that you can trust while also tasting great. I believe Legion is a perfect mixture of the two. They're backed by science. Everything is clearly labeled on the bottle. And from my own personal experience, everything does really do taste really great. So if you want to get your own Legion supplements, use the code THRIVINGON, one word, to get 20% off your first order and double reward points. Now, without further ado, let's get into the episode. And welcome to another podcast episode. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Amy, and she's actually one of our Thriving On clients. We've been doing a bit of a series of having our own clients come on to the podcast to share their own journey. So many people are providing before and after pictures of their journey and their success. And that's really great. Don't get me wrong, but there are more goals than just fat loss, right? There's more to nutrition fitness than just fat loss, the before and after pictures. And nobody really provides that perspective of what it takes. What are the tactical things that our clients doing to create the changes that they want? So we're having them come on the podcast and share their journey and share their story to either inspire you to take very similar pathway or take some of the tactics that work best for them and try it in your own journey and see if it works as well. All right. So Amy was nice enough to jump on here to share her experience. And I'm really excited about this because this is going to be a little bit different than what you'll probably see out there on the fitness and nutrition industry, because Amy actually came to us while she was pregnant. And while she is going, you are going into a fat loss phase currently right now, right?
Yep. Almost 2 weeks in.
Nice. Just started. But like the beginning of the journey was not a fat loss phase. It was a whole different goal. Yeah. Which reminder.
It was gains,
more than just
baby.
Fat loss. Gains. Yes. There's more than just fat loss. I just want to remind people that there's more than just losing fat or seeing the number go down. There's so much more to it. You can have so much fun with it, to be honest with you. Anyways, we'll go on that tangent later. But Amy, before we get into this, I want you to take a quick second to introduce yourself for those that don't know who you are.
Thanks, Casey. Hi, I'm Amy. I am a mother of 2 darling creatures. One is 3 and trying to act a little less darling these days. He has to share a lot. His sister's turning 1 next week. I'm so excited. So I have those 2. Being a mom has become a huge part of my life, obviously, in the last 3 years. Other than that, I work in marketing and communications for an IT company. So that's my 9-to-5 desk job that unfortunately keeps me slave to a lot of sitting, although I did get the walking pad thing.
Yes.
Huge life changer.
Yes.
And I'm also a budding nutrition coach. I've always been fascinated by the space, started getting into that more this past year. Definitely was inspired by Thriving On and those coaches. So that's a little bit about me.
There you go. Now we're caught up. I can edit this out. That's okay. Or maybe I won't. We'll just keep it. But anyways, did you, I think I might have missed it. Did you mention that you're also a Pilates instructor?
No, I missed that. There's so many things that I do. I forget about things sometimes. Yep. It's just a hobby on the side, weekend, couple hours kind of thing. But I fell in love with Pilates a few years ago and just recognized it as one of those things where literally every body can do Pilates and it can help them in whatever space they are in life. Just the way I see how nutrition is so important and integral in every part of our life. Pilates was that other missing piece. So I, within 2 months of starting Reformer Pilates, signed on for teacher training, and I've been teaching ever since.
That's so dope. That's amazing. Oh gosh. So mother of 2, full-time job,
Hmm.
nutrition coach,
Hmm.
which I've seen that journey and seeing you go. And like, I know Toby has loved working with you and also just helping you become a really great coach. And just from an outside perspective, like I know you will be fantastic at it
Oh,
because you
thanks.
have real life experience too. I think that's was
Oh
so
yeah.
important is that you're obviously getting a lot of certifications, which is part of the process. But I think what's going to give you a leg up as a coach is that you have real life experience. Like, you know what it's like to be a very busy parent who
Hmm.
is juggling all these different passions while a 9 to 5 and being a mother and the ups and downs. It's not all
I
sunshine
wish.
and
I
LS.
wish
Yeah,
it
really.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, which we will
Lots of
talk about
challenges.
that. But like, you know what it's like. And you are just like a lot of people out there. And you can not only provide the information, but you can have the empathy and be able to walk people through that. So I'm really excited about you becoming a coach. It's going to be
Thank
fantastic. But
you.
um, I kind of wanted to, like, I was really interested in talking to you about this on the podcast is because when you first joined Thriving On, you were actually pregnant,
Hmm.
right?
Entering my third trimester.
Yeah. Okay. And so what that really surprised me. Like, I'm down for it. You know how much I love, and like, we know this, that when you really focus on things like strength training and nutrition, it just helps with having a healthier pregnancy and helping you
Hmm.
pop back faster. But most women are a little bit timid to do so. So I just was curious, like, what was your thought process as to why you jumped onto Thriving on a Gut?
So going into my third trimester, I was tired. I was a tired mama. I had that 2-year-old running around. I have a pretty good history with nutrition and fitness, like we said. So it's not that in your typical average good day, I couldn't handle all of the things that go into it. But man, I was run down. I knew that my protein was significantly lower than normal, and I was still working out two to three times a week, a pretty good amount. So I wanted to fuel that. I wanted to fuel having enough energy for keeping my body strong and healthy going through my third trimester, so that I could have a positive birth. And I wanted to invest in every aspect possible. And I just felt like a little extra support and guidance around getting enough of the right macros while still allowing myself the flexibility to enjoy the holiday time frame, and just kind of get myself to a place where I didn't feel like I was doing all the heavy lifting for everything. On top of, I was working my full-time job, I was still teaching Pilates, I was doing all the
Yeah.
things. And so just having somebody in my corner to help me through, just not not giving up or letting go in those last 2 months, it meant a lot to me to have somebody there to just be a sounding board, to talk about things that I felt like I knew a good amount about, but the industry is always changing and growing. We learn new information every day, and I didn't have time to do all of that research and get all of that while I was preparing to birth a human. So it was just nice going into it to have somebody to lean on a little bit, to help me through a particularly difficult time, but also to prepare and have, oh my God, that was like that was the best birth ever.
Good. That's good to hear. And I feel you on the sense of like, so many people are trying to do everything on their own and they're also
Hmm.
like parents and they're busy and like I
It's
don't have any kids
exhausting.
and I have a pit bull. That's not even close. She is pretty sassy, but like that's not even close. And like I have to have coaches. Like I'm not ashamed of saying that. I'm about to jump on with Ellen pretty soon. Toby is
Awesome.
always there helping me through things as well. And it's just because like we can't do everything, and the value of taking some of the pressure off your shoulders, even if you are
Yeah.
very knowledgeable like yourself, it's like it's so invaluable. Like sooner or later you're going to have to delegate, otherwise all the different things that you're trying to do, it's only going to get a fraction of you, and now you're doing all this effort to not to just spin your wheels. It's just not worth it. It's far more valuable to delegate. And so my next question is, did you learn anything during that first process of like pregnancy that what you were doing before, like you learned different things that work best for you?
So during that particular time, I learned that I needed to focus on recovery more.
Yeah.
That was a little bit new to me. Before then, I don't know. I feel like my whole life I've been conditioned to just move, move, move. And with pregnancy, it was like you kind of get forced to do it anyway, whether you want to or not. That little baby's gonna suck the life out of you in a little bit. So I was just sitting there going like, man, I'm tired. I need to fuel more so that I can do more. But obviously, there's a cap on that. And then you're just, gaining extra weight in pregnancy. So, like, what is the difference here? And I won that whoop in your holiday challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and it gave me all this data around recovery, which I just wasn't a huge focus of mine before. And pulling that piece in just absolutely changed the trajectory for like the whole next year. I realized going into and coming right out of birth, that was my focus. That's where I needed to be. I needed to recover better. I needed to be the queen of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't have gotten into that if I hadn't joined with you guys and we hadn't had those conversations about like, how's your sleep? How's your recovery? Those conversations just hadn't come up. I had like PT before. I'd, dabbled in nutrition forever. But that recovery piece, it was just so critical
Yeah.
and yeah, made a huge difference.
What were some of the things that you did for like the nutrition side of things? Like, were there like key principles within your nutrition that you knew worked for you? Like, how many calories were you eating? Like, were there specific things that you were doing with your food?
It's always been about whole foods and almost to a point of being a little too restrictive on what I consume. And it's been this very interesting journey. When I first started with you guys, I kind of opened the door maybe a little bit too wide, but I think that was a good thing
Mm-hmm.
to go back into like, it's okay to do the like 80% good food
Yeah.
sometimes. Like, it doesn't all have to be literally picked from the garden in your backyard for you to be able to consume it. Like, yes, ideally, we want to have that high caliber food as much as possible. But being a busy mom with another baby on the way and my protein slacking, I needed to find sources that were good enough, that didn't just mean like stopping at Culver's on the way home from something, but like still fueled me and in a way that, I still felt good, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe some of it came with a wrapper on it kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. So that was huge for me, was to find those mostly good, like pretty decent. I'm not going to feel like crap tomorrow, but
Yeah.
it's not, my most ideal source every time. I don't have to go pluck a chicken in my backyard kind of
Yeah.
fuel.
Yeah. It's like
Fuel. So
a good, better, best perspective,
yeah,
right? There's
that
no
good,
black
better
or white.
stuff was great.
Yeah, and like this is something that I teach my moms all the time when I'm working with them is like you just have to expect that it's not going to be perfect. It's
Yeah.
not. Like for a lot of moms out there, it's not going to be perfect at all. And so what you need to do is take a step back and think, okay, what can I do? I also call it the
Mhm.
scrappy mindset. Like we're going to get scrappy as hell. Like if you forget your shoes at home, guess what? You're working out barefoot. Like what can
I
you
did
do with
work it
what
out
you've
in my
got?
socks at one point because that did happen and we had crappy
Yeah.
weather. And I was like, you know what? They're all working out in their socks. I'm going to try it.
Yes, exactly. It's like it like as long as you always do something to move the needle forward, you're always going to be winning. Even if you're not a mom or a busy parent, like it's just life. Life will never be perfect. And so if we try to trap ourselves in this box of black and white instead of thinking of it as a lot of gray, there's different levels, right? Like you're going to be stuck. Like you're going to be trapping yourself in a prison. The consistency and the longevity that you're looking for is the flexibility and adaptability, getting scrappy with it,
Yeah.
right? So you learn the different ranges like good, better, best with your food.
Hmm.
And you were talking a lot about getting enough protein in. That was another big one. There was
Yeah.
there anything else that you were doing during your pregnancy that just really was just supporting that through nutrition?
Just eating enough.
Yeah.
That was a huge thing for me. When I had been working out prior, at one point I didn't really like count.
Hmm.
I focused on protein before I got pregnant and was making sure I was hitting like 120-ish, which was a lot for me at the time. Like that was a huge increase for me from before even that. So when I started working out more consistently and building muscle, I was like, I gotta eat more protein. So that was a thing. It started to die down during pregnancy. And then we looked at like total calories, and it kind of blew my mind because going into the end of my pregnancy and then breastfeeding, I went into like 28 to 3,000 calories,
Yep.
which was just so insane to me at the time. But at the same time, I was ravenous and happily eating all of it
Yep.
and waking up in the middle of the night trying to squeeze more in. And that's kind of where the good, better, best also came through. When you're eating 3,000 calories, it is so hard to eat perfectly 3,000 calories worth of food. Oh my gosh, especially if you're a busy parent, like you just got to find whatever you can get and shove it in.
Yes, exactly.
So knowing that I needed to eat that many calories and prioritizing getting that every single day, I think was huge on my energy levels coming out of giving birth. I had way more energy. I think I had like better overall mood, better sleep, everything because of it than the first time around. Because the first time around was just like I was just shoveling in oatmeal because supposedly oats are like amazing for breastfeeding. But like having a more well-rounded protein-packed oatmeal bowl this time, like it just made a huge difference.
Good. Yeah. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people listening, like 3,000 I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
that
right.
sounds about right. And people are like, 3,000. Like, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of pregnant women make is that they don't pay attention to how much they're eating. But like, you're literally feeding another person and you are getting bigger yourself. And so the bigger you are and the more stress that you put on your body through pregnancy, the more that your body requires calories. I think it's, if I remember off the top of my head, I think it's on average about every trimester. Like your first trimester, you stay at your maintenance calories. So maintenance calories is what you need to be taking in order to maintain your weight and also health as well. Eating too much for too long, eating too little for too long, they both have negative effects. Maintenance is like AKA where you should be living to be healthy and happy majority of the time. And so in your second trimester, you should be eating about 300 calories more. And then
Mm-hmm.
your third trimester and also during breastfeeding, you should be maintaining that. And as it goes, it'll start dwindling down as well. But like your calorie intake is a lot higher during that time. I mean, and it's a shame that not more people talk about that because I've had some
Mm-hmm.
tough conversations with some women where they're like, oh, I have this nightmare story. I don't think I've ever shared this with you. I used to coach a lady and she was talking to me about how she used to work with a dietitian when she was pregnant because her doctor told her to. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, what was your experience with that? And she's like, yeah, the dietitian told me that I needed to eat 1,200 calories while I was pregnant. And I was like, yeah, I was like,
Oh no,
oh my, like that is probably one of the most negligent things I've ever heard. Like that's not
that's
just putting that
horrifying.
person in at risk, that's also putting the baby at risk. Like that is just, yeah, like it was,
Oh my
I
God,
I I'm usually pretty even keel, but I couldn't hold my temper. I was like, are you kidding me? Like I was
that would
just
set
like,
me off.
yeah, I think I kind of scared her, but I was younger coach.
Well, because you're talking about the standard of 300, and then you have a body like mine that needed like 5 to 600, and
Yes.
like my weight stayed approximately the same in my last trimester. I was on point, gaining like half a pound with the
Yep.
baby. Like I wasn't going over that at all, and I was eating that much more because my body needed it to
Exactly.
function. So
Exactly.
to look at a case where somebody could be on the upper end and then hear about somebody who's being asked to diet while pregnant,
Hmm.
I can't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the general guidelines are is like it's like like on average 300. But like okay, what's
Right,
the
like
average human being? Most
every
human beings don't
person's
lift
different.
weights, they don't move, you do. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where the
I was
personalized
moving a
coaching
lot.
comes. Yeah, that's where the personalized coaching comes in and it helps figure out what works best for you because a
Yeah.
lot of people aren't the average. A lot of people need to do something a little bit different than what the guidelines are out there.
Hmm.
So like eating enough protein, making sure that you did the 80-20 rule so that way you could still be able to be well fueled and fueling for your baby while still being busy on the go. I love it. And you said that it was the easiest pregnancy in
Oh
the
my God, yeah,
world.
she was born, let's see, we got to the We got to the birth center at 3:05. She was born at 4:32.
Oh,
It was so fast. And
Achilles.
like, yeah, oh my gosh. And I, I can't believe how different it was from my first one. I mean,
Yeah.
I went like the whole birth center route instead of a hospital. I did the
Hmm.
hospital the first time. Interventions, all the good stuff, and just absolutely regretted it. Didn't listen to my inner intuition on it at all. The second time around, I, pulled out all the stops. I engaged with the right birth practitioner. I engaged with the right nutrition coach who like helped me with recovery, and just like
Hmm.
I got all the people in my corner. I got the support that I needed to do a big thing. It's a big thing to
Oh, hell
give
yeah.
birth. And the
Oh, hell
more
yeah.
people you have marshaled around you, helping support you and take some of those things off your plate, the delegating, like you said, it's just, I would recommend it for anyone who can possibly afford to do it in some way. Like
Yeah.
there's so many different ways to do it. There's so many different types of people who can help. There's just find friends who are interested in understanding aspects of things that
100%.
you don't have the time for, and have them come help you.
Yeah. Like everybody needs a support system. I think that that's
Yes.
one of the things that I find society fighting against. It's like this whole like I can do this on my own independence, which is great. I love independence, but as human beings, we are like part of us as an overall well-being, right? Not
Hmm.
just nutrition fitness, but like your mind, your mental health, your spiritual health, your financial health, everything. We thrive off of community. We thrive off of support. It's actually when we start trying to do things alone when things start going wrong. And
Hmm.
I'm guilty of that for sure.
Oh,
I'm definitely one of those stubborn people too. Lessons we have learned the hard
so
way.
many. I am
So,
way too self-sufficient.
yeah.
And this past time around, I learned somewhat the hard way with my first pregnancy. Like, get those people, get the help, ask for help.
Yeah,
Always ask for
definitely.
help.
Always get support 100%. Any way that you can, get scrappy with it. Like get scrappy, get whatever support that you can get because definitely be better off for that. And good thing you're hearing it from here now so that way you don't have to go through the hard way
Right?
like she did with her own experience or
Help me
with
help
my own
you.
experience as well. Yeah. Okay, so the baby came out in minimal time, super easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then okay, what happened next? Like what was the next part of your journey postpartum?
Went home within 24 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and sleep was the priority, and eat sleep,
Mm-hmm.
sleep, sleep, eat. That's all we did. The baby and I just snuggled up dead of winter, and just let my body start to recover. When I was feeling good, I would lay out on the floor in my living room and try to do a little bit of like pelvic floor strengthening exercises. We're talking
Mm-hmm.
like pelvic rocks, half bridges, not
Okay.
even full bridges, like just trying to allow my limbs to move, but without being able to do a whole lot. It's kind of a weird time, especially if you have a really good birth, at least in my experience, where if you get it right and the baby's actually sleeping the majority of the time, which
Mm-hmm.
they pretty much always do in the newborn phase, as long as you are trying to align your sleep with theirs as much as possible, you will hit times where you don't need quite as much sleep as they do. You do need rest. Your body needs to physically rest, but your brain is on and chugging. So you have to find outlets for things like that. That's when I decided to work with you guys and do a little bit of fun with Thriving On, because I was like, listen, I can't go anywhere. I need to physically like chill out, but I would love to interact and find community, because
Mm-hmm.
I am going to feel very alone sitting here in my living room with no one to interact with. And, once you get past like week 2 or 3 of having a newborn, most of the like visiting family and friends and things, they kind of trickle away, and you're kind of sitting there. Your body's still not fully recovered yet because it takes time, and you start to long for something.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to connect in and keep my mind busy in a fun, new, different, interesting way, Not going back to work. I do not advocate for going back to work in your first 6 weeks postpartum. You need rest from things like that. It should be like getting away from people having expectations of you, but finding ways to commune with others. That was something I really needed. So that was kind of my focus. Sleep, eat, commune.
Yeah, sleep, eat, commune, and then you were doing pelvic floor exercises.
Yeah.
Question: was that something that you have an understanding of yourself that you put
Through
together, or was
Pilates.
with Pilates? Okay, and so
Yep.
can you do you have any resources? Because I'm sure that people are listening right now, and I'm interested too. Like, do you know of any resources that people can go to learn more about that, or just reach out to you and you can help?
Oh, yeah, by all means, hit me up. I'm happy to answer any questions, give a couple exercises. I also did work directly with a pelvic floor physical therapist,
Okay.
and I highly recommend that. I actually think it would have been interesting. I think I had enough into knowledge of my body that I was okay not going while I was pregnant. I
Mm-hmm.
thought about it though. I thought about, man, it would have been nice to have gone just to understand from that side of things. That would have
Mm-hmm.
been a cool experience to have, to be able to share. However, I felt confident enough in what I knew and how I was in tune with my body that I waited until after, but I started going right after, and I got a physical exam. And
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend that for any woman because it just gives you, sorry, my light just went out.
You're good.
It just gives you this perspective that you can't get any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually loved having completely non-invasive everything with the birth center. I had 0 internal exams while I was pregnant with my second child, and I only had one ultrasound the entire time. It was a lot of trust. It
Yeah.
was a lot of believe. And going out of it though, I wanted the data to understand where my body was at and where I was repairing from, because
Mm-hmm.
you have a pretty good sense of what the outside is, but you don't really know what's going on inside other than how long it takes you to stop wearing a diaper, which you always pray will go quickly because man, those things are not comfortable. But um, it was good to have somebody kind of give me some feedback on, okay, based on my understanding of the human body and how things should go, this is where you're at, this is where you need to heal from. And it kind of gave me a sense of, where do you start with those pelvic floor exercises? Like, is it sitting there just practicing your Kegels
Mm-hmm.
and nothing else? Is it breath work? Breath work is huge. Breath work is hard right after you give birth.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, because I've always been so focused on it. And I was complimented in both birthing situations about how good of a breather I am.
Listen to that
It's
there.
yeah.
Breath work. Do
Yeah,
it. Do
yeah.
it. Do it. It makes
Breath work's
it easier.
amazing. That's so challenging right off the bat. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can Google some things, but it's literally just getting connected with that nice internal breath and feeling yourself zip up all the way from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
Working with a pelvic floor physical therapist for even just like where am I at and where do I start my healing journey from kind of session. But then I had a couple check-ins with her. It always ended up being things that I knew, which were start with something easy like pelvic rocks, with just keeping it's actually a lot like your third trimester of pregnancy with the moves. You kind of go back the other way. All the modifications you had to make going into your third trimester, you just start there and slowly build back and kind of treat it the same way. Give yourself 9 months
Yeah.
of doing that. Like, once you get in your second trimester, you can start experimenting with, con- shoot, what's it called? Now my brain is freezing.
I hate when that happens.
You can, right? You can experiment with not keeping your heels connected. You can do an open chain. Thank you.
Yeah.
There we go. I just had to talk myself into it.
You
You
know
know,
what?
you're
I
working
get
with a
those.
closed chain.
Yeah, I do that all the time. And just so happens sometimes it's on the podcast. I'm like, well, all right, we're going with it.
It is what it is. You work out from your closed chain to opening the chain, maybe lifting a heel up or scooting it further away, extending the lever, that kind of thing. So it's you can Google it. There are so many so many resources out there. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think anyone's doing anything crazy and
Mm-hmm.
and like that I've seen. I haven't seen anybody tell like a extremely pregnant woman or a just gave birth woman to do anything insane that I know
Yeah.
of. If anything, I feel like we tend to be afraid of what our bodies are capable of
Mm-hmm.
and advise so hard that women are afraid to try the next thing because they're not at that time marker that
Mm-hmm.
the industry has set for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, if anything, you might be ready sooner than you think, but you do have to take the steps to get there. You can't skip steps and
Mm-hmm.
then just assume that your body will do all the things it needs to do. Our bodies are amazing and they heal very well on their own without a whole lot of help from us.
Yeah.
But when it comes to getting back into exercise, yeah, doing the work up front for your pelvic floor and helping those abs come back together,
Yeah.
huge time saver in the end, and gets you back into those lifts a lot sooner and without getting injured, which
100%.
it was really hard. Like, it took a lot of patience for me. I was so excited to get back into the gym and I really had to slow myself down. Honestly, one of the best things, walks. Going for walks. Just go
Mm-hmm.
for a walk. I
Mm-hmm.
walked so much and it was nice. I mean, the fresh air, the sunshine, all those things make a huge difference too. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
sorry, that was a little bit of a rant.
No, that's okay. Dude, have you ever talked to me and Toby? I know you have.
Right.
We're the epitome of rants. So what rants are welcomed here. But I just want to go back to something that you're talking about before is that a lot of times women fear what their body's capable of,
Yeah,
or what they should or should not be doing. And like what the recommendations you're pointing out, like the recommendations of what most people should be doing. Well, again, like you're not most people don't strength train. Most people don't pay
true.
attention to what they're putting in their body. And we were talking about this at the very beginning. We know this. If you support the work that you do before pregnancy, like if you're lifting weights regularly, if you're moving well, you're taking care of yourself, you're eating enough, you have great hormonal health, the pregnancy is going to be a lot easier and popping back is going
Yeah,
to be a lot faster than the average person that doesn't pay attention to those things. And you did that work. And so your rate of coming back is going to be a lot faster than those that don't. And so if you too are that person, you're listening right now and you've done that work as well, your rate of coming back may be different than what most people have experienced, and that's okay. But you were talking about also like coming back, like you were like, I want to come back faster. I feel like that's I feel like there's a huge pressure. We were talking about this in a podcast that was released earlier with Christy Campbell came on, and we were talking about the unrealistic expectations of like within the fitness industry of
mm-hmm.
popping back after pregnancy. Like women are posting before and after pictures of like 6 weeks postpartum, and I look almost back to normal, and we're like, yeah, okay. Like, did you ever struggle with that pressure or trying to rush yourself a little bit more too?
Absolutely. How can you not? There's so many posts out there that just, I mean, it's like when you're growing up and looking at magazines and you're like, I'm going to look like her one day. No, you're not, because you're you. She's
Mhm.
her and you're you. Plus, there's a lot of photoshopping that went into that picture.
Yeah,
And it's kind of the same thing now. It's the highlight reel on social media. Everybody's doing their very best. I bet you that same person was super bloated a couple days later and did not take a picture. Because
Mhm.
why would you post about that? Why would you brag about that? That's
Mhm.
not you at your best. And you want to show off and be your best when you're posting for other people. And it's so easy to just fall into that pressure. I fell into it on both sides. I fell into the pressure of what I should do going into my first pregnancy and on the way out. And I was definitely more focused on what the scale read when I was coming out of my first pregnancy. I thought I needed to get back down to the number that I saw before I got pregnant. And that was just so unrealistic. My body was just so different. There are no words for the transformation you go through mentally and physically when you give birth. So going into it the second time, I loved it because instead of thinking about what I should do, I thought about what felt good for me.
Mhm.
And I kind of gave a middle finger to all of the shoulds and just kind of listened to my body. But I also worked closely with a personal trainer right up until I got pregnant. So I
Hmm.
was really in tune with my body, both from Pilates and from working with a personal trainer. And I knew exactly what felt good and what didn't. I had been working on form so much that I knew what was right and how to adjust well from there. So I would say, like, anybody who goes into it, if you have that sense for yourself, allow yourself to know yourself more
Hmm.
than listening to somebody else's input. And
Yeah.
if you don't feel comfortable, get that help. Have a personal trainer, have a coach, have somebody by your side who can help you find what's right for you and not what's generally out there on the internet, because it's very misleading. And the second
Holy
time
crap.
around, oh, yeah.
I was just about to say, I couldn't have said it better myself. Like, I can't preach this enough. The magic happens when you stop paying attention to what other people are doing or what you should or should not do, and literally create the self awareness and the autonomy to figure out what works best for you. And for a lot of people, that requires them to get help. I was one of those people. I would have never been able to lose 50 pounds and overcome everything that I went through without people in my corner. Never.
Mhm.
And I'm not afraid to say that. And it's the same thing here, is like, it was so invaluable for you to get a personal trainer. And also, you learned a lot through applying yourself to become a Pilates instructor and all these different things, to have that autonomy, to have that independence and self awareness to do that. I think that's a key component. Like, if you want to do this for life, if you want this to be a long term thing, you need to have that. That's why,
Yeah.
like, tell me what to do and I'll just do it does not work. That's a lazy approach. You've got to take ownership of this. And that's exactly what you did. I just wanted to point that out. That was such a good
Yeah.
part. I didn't want to
Yeah.
pass past that.
Yeah.
All right. So you're in this position where you're figuring out what works best for you.
Mhm.
And just like not paying attention to the shoulds, just figuring out what works best for you. So we talked a lot about the nutrition side of things and what you were doing with that. We were staying well fed. We were still eating during this process. I'm assuming that you're
Mhm.
drinking a lot of water too, because breastfeeding too.
Oh my God, insane amounts of water. I literally have two water cups, right? Like giant ones right here. There is no such thing as enough water, especially while breastfeeding.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. When we went to Arizona for a week, I was dying because the
Oh, I
change of
bet.
climate just killed me.
Oh, I bet.
There was not enough water in the entire state of Arizona to hydrate me.
Yeah. By the way, guys, Amy, when she worked for us for a short period of time before she went back to work, and she came to Arizona with us for a team event, and we
It
had
was
some
super
fun
fun.
there. And they were so great because you brought your little baby, and everybody was
I
like,
got to
"You're,
bring Maddie. Yeah.
yeah." It was all great. It was a
That's so cool.
fantastic experience. But I can't. I don't doubt. Like, Arizona is dry, and we were.
So,
It was in April, right? So it was
yep.
pretty hot. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was like
So
80s,
yeah, but
90s
like,
some
it was a
days.
dry 80s. Like, anybody
And
that's
coming
from
from
Arizona,
my
it was
very
a dry
temperate
one.
Wisconsin area, like it was a shock to the system in
Yeah,
so many
100%.
ways.
100%. Okay. So we talked a lot about the nutrition side of things and obviously
Hmm.
hydration. So what were some of the things that you did on the fitness side getting out of it? Right. So obviously it was the like working on the pelvic floor,
Hmm.
100%,
Yep.
always encourage, work on that. But like, what was your experience of getting back into fitness, and what was that process? What did that process look like?
Again, slower than I wanted it to be. I
Hmm.
just really needed to, I really needed to move.
Hmm.
So going for walks was huge. That was like that was like the number one first thing that like anyone will tell you, like, yes, now you can go do that. And you can't really hurt yourself doing that.
Yeah.
If you try to turn it into running, you can hurt yourself. Calm down. But if you
Calm your ass.
if you just go for walks every day, you're getting so many things on top of just the physical walking, but also the physical walking itself works so much
Mhm.
of your body. It helps with the ab separation. It helps with the pelvic floor. It helps maintain the muscle that I put on my legs and things like that.
Mhm.
So that was huge. And it, started becoming miles a day.
Mhm.
And then once I got to around, I did wait until the 6 week marker to try to do more than just some basic Pilates in my
Mhm.
living room. And once it got there, I started to do some strength training because I just know I feel so good after moving some weights.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know that it's great for me. And I had worked really hard to put on some muscle before I got pregnant, and I had worked really hard while I was pregnant to keep that muscle. So I was really excited to get back into maybe building some more or just feeling strong again, because I it's great to have that great picture in the mirror sometimes, but I don't think there's any better feeling to me than being able to lift a heavier weight than I thought I could. Like, as soon as I hit a PR, I'm like, oh my God, I'm amazing. I am a superhero.
Oh my God.
Ain't nothing better.
If you're watching the video, you can see me freaking out and she's saying that. That's like one of the I love that part. I love that part.
It is.
I
It's so
really do
good.
believe this is that strength training is one of the best ways to develop confidence in anybody. And it's one of the best tools for personal development. Like if you want to grow as a person, you want to become stronger, you want to go after things, you want things to be not so scary, start lifting, because you'll learn how to do that in the gym, to set a goal and achieve it, to try things that scare you. And then you show yourself that you can with hard work, not letting your excuses get in the way, letting your accountability buddy or your training partner or personal trainer or your class hold you accountable and get your shit in there, even when you don't want to. And you start seeing those things stack up. It's like, that was for me. Like when I first started my fitness journey, I was like, there's no way I could run a mile. There's no way I could ever do a pull up, like all the self limiting beliefs. And then my coaches were like, fuck that. Like, get up in there and let's put some work in. And all of a sudden, I'm climbing the rope the first time. I'm like, maybe I can do kipping pull ups. And then I started doing kipping
Right?
pull ups and getting strict. It just like, it trickles. And then that just bleeds into everything in your life. Oh my goodness. So did you start off with a barbell or did you start off with like dumbbells, kettlebells, body weight? Like, what did you start off with?
I started in my basement. I have a couple low key I have a kettlebell. I have like a 5 pound kettlebell, a 10 pound kettlebell, and some little sissy weights, some dumbbells. And a lot of it was just getting moving, getting back into the practice. I have one of those like body pump barbell thing. Like I don't like calling it a barbell because it's the straight rod of metal, but like it's so puny by comparison to like an Olympic weightlifting barbell. But it does the trick. I can load 50 pounds on that sucker. So, and that's a lot when you're coming out of
Oh yeah.
when you're in postpartum coming out of giving birth.
Yeah.
So I started in my basement, which I hate, but you know what? It was something. It was a way to get started and, kind of help myself tamper down on going too hard too soon as well. Like when you only have access to up to 50 pounds to move and you're used to moving 1 to 200 pounds, like it's a good starting point. It's a good limiting factor when you're getting back into it, because then it was about just getting my body back into those movements, reminding myself of the things, like reminding my muscles of those movements, but also learning what was new and different about my body, because each time you give birth, things shift around a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was just, getting kind of used to it. So I started in my basement. I was doing like two nights a week. Sometimes I would add in a third if I had the energy and time for it. But I really tried to supplement with like Pilates or yoga or something more recovery and mobility based, just to kind of complement doing the strength training pieces. I decided to try CrossFit finally. I've wanted to forever.
Were you influenced by Toby?
No, I've wanted to do CrossFit for a lot longer than that, but I will say it was really fun in the Thriving On community to see people posting their big lifts in there. It didn't matter who it was. It always looked fun. It always looked inspiring. So across all of you, Toby and you and everyone else, I really wanted to do it. I've wanted to do it for years, and I finally felt like I had the base strength to try something like that, because I had that, people have that fear of CrossFit. I did Olympic weightlifting classes like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach at that gym was very anti-CrossFit. I think he had experienced some bad CrossFit coaches who
Mm-hmm.
were helping people move things they shouldn't too quickly, kind of deal. And so he just had a bad taste in his mouth about it. And he would badmouth it anytime I was in the gym and that topic came up. So I had this like fear, but at the same time, I'd seen the CrossFit games and these amazing feats that these humans are doing. And I
Yeah.
was like, that is so cool. I would love to learn just like a small portion of the crazy shit those people are doing. Sorry if we're not supposed to swear on this podcast, but
Oh,
I
it's
just did.
me, Amy. It's fine.
Yeah, I figured we were good.
Yeah.
And so they opened a gym right next to, literally joined, we share bathrooms with my Pilates studio. And I was
No
like, I
way.
have no excuse. I have to try this.
The universe
And
is just like throwing
right?
in your face. Do
It's
it.
like, do it, do it, do it. And I'm so glad because I built enough strength to work on skills now. Like I still cannot do a handstand push-up. I didn't even think I could do a handstand. And then in the beginning of one of the classes, that was like the opener was you're going to work on your headstand, your
Yeah.
handstand. And I was like, what? But the coach was so good walking us through and helping us with our placements, and he kindly put little like foam pads for the top of our heads, which at
Yep.
first I was like, oh, that's okay. I don't, yes, you do. You absolutely want
Use
that
the
because
foam
after
pads.
you do it 12 times, the top of your head starts to get pretty sore. And I was like, damn, between Pilates and the strength training I had been doing, I had the core strength and stability to actually get my butt over my head.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing. And I was like, wait, if I could take the time to keep working on this, I might actually be able to do one of those things someday. I had that self-limiting belief of like, I will never be able to do that. Well, turns out I just might. So I'm really excited to be working on more of the fun things. Like I did double unders yesterday, was it? And I had zero interest in ever learning double unders because one of the downsides to giving birth is that pelvic floor is a little more apt to release in the middle of jump roping. And
AKA you pee your pants.
yeah, I always have to sprint to the bathroom. If I see anything to do with jump rope on the board, I have to sprint to the bathroom before we get started because otherwise I will pee my pants.
Yeah.
And yesterday he decided before we got started with the WOD, he was going to walk through how to do a double under. And I was like, fine, I guess I'll just listen and give it a try. I kid you not, I did a single double and I hit it on the first try. And I was so excited and surprised that I slammed my feet down onto the floor and did not do another one because I was like, oh my God, it happened.
I am so jealous of you now. Do you know how long it took me to get my first double under? Like legit, I would go to the gym because my dad had a membership at a commercial gym and I just got a CrossFit gym membership, but they weren't open all the time. And I went on a day that wasn't open. I would go on days that they weren't open or times they weren't open. And I would just go in front of the mirror and just practice. And I would just come home with stripes on my leg because I was so determined to get it. And here you are. Just, yeah, I got my first try. I'm like, good for you, but screw you.
I loved jump rope as a kid. And then pregnancy / postpartum kind of ruined it for me. And I was like, fuck jump rope. Like, I just don't need that in my life anymore. And I mean, box jumps. I was afraid of box jumps a few months ago. I was just like, first of all, that sounds like a lot of impact in a place that I don't want impact. And second of all, I've seen people eat shit over boxes and come away with very scarred shins. And I'm just not about that life. I'm up on 24-inch boxes for like sustaining through a workout now. And I'm just like, who is she?
Who is this person
doing
all these things? Exactly.
So it's like, it's not about the heaviest weight for me anymore. And that's so cool because for the longest time, it was like, that's the thing I have to chase is a PR on whatever that lift is, because I want that feeling of like, I did something that I didn't know I could do. And the skill work is this whole new open door of like, you do want a certain amount of control over your body, awareness of your body, strength built throughout your body. Past that though, once you get like a good foundation, skill work just opens this whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like where I'm heading now is like, yeah, it's still cool to PR on a weight. Like, do not get me wrong. Um, but now I can kind of get that elated feeling of like, oh my God, I just did something new and different,
Yeah.
or something that I never thought I could do before.
Oh, I
So,
love that. I love that for you. I love that so much. Okay, we are coming up towards the end. So I did want to briefly talk to you about, because you went through the whole process of postpartum. On the other
mhm,
side, you started CrossFit and everything like that. And part of our process is just building a solid foundation to go into a dieting phase. And you did that. You put the work in, and you're now in a dieting phase right now, 2 weeks in.
mhm.
Okay. And I
2 weeks.
remember you posting a reel, and there was like such great ideas. And I was like, oh, we've got to talk about this right now. So I want you to just kind of go over what you shared about like some of the things that you're currently doing to help you have a successful fat loss phase.
Sure. So I did not write any of that down. I literally just like was thinking about it, put it in a reel and posted it. And now I've completely forgotten the things I said there, but I'll probably end up saying some of them here again.
Yeah. Yeah. But just share what's
And
working
maybe
for
I'll
you
say
right now.
something new.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think one of the biggest things for me is I waited until the right time to start. So I didn't just jump into it. It has been almost a year. My focus was on breastfeeding for my baby up until that journey ended for us. And I just let that be when it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not define when I was going into a fat loss phase. I didn't rush it. We didn't just skip steps. So once we finished my breastfeeding journey, I took some time to just understand and let my body kind of recalibrate. Hormones are a huge thing that can totally just sabotage anything you're trying to do with gaining or losing weight. If your hormones are all over the place, they're in control, you aren't. So getting those in check, just helping my body regulate and get to a good place first was so important coming in. And then when we started, it wasn't just immediately like, you may no longer consume 500 of the calories that you're used to consuming. It was, hey, how do we take somebody who sits at a desk a lot of the day and add a little bit more movement in during the day, and then subtract a little bit less from your calories than you would otherwise? So
Mm-hmm.
we kind of met in the middle, and we're doing a strategy where I upped my steps by, I think it's 2,200 technically is like the goal. So, but it fluctuates anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 extra
Mm-hmm.
steps a day, depending on the day. So that was one side of it. And that's just adding to, I'm maintaining the rest of my schedule, which is minimum 2 strength training sessions a week, or 2 CrossFit classes, or getting into the gym, moving some weight and moving my body.
Yeah.
At least twice a week. Sometimes I do a third. That's completely arbitrary and just totally up to my schedule, what I feel like doing. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's hot yoga, we have fun. But I kept all of that and just added more steps in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like this insane, like now walk 5,000 steps or 10,000 more steps. It's 2,000 more steps. It's a walk around my park right here. Adding one of those in, or just like during a meeting, I hop on my walking pad for an extra meeting that day. On top of that, I'm eating less, but I'm not changing the foods that I eat. I'm either doing smaller portion sizes, or I was having like extra snacks sometimes to help keep up and maintain. So now I just cut out the extra snack. And then I'm using a scale, because when I'm at home, being really accurate there allows me a lot of freedom when I go out to feel a little bit more comfortable with eyeballing. I've also been doing some sort of tracking off and on over the past year. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty darn familiar with what things are. And I order pretty much the same things when I go out. I like chicken sandwiches. I like
Mm-hmm.
the quinoa bowls. I like the omelets. Like I have like my comfort foods at I live in a small village. Like there's only so many places to order from anyway.
Yeah.
So those are all very easy for me to kind of estimate. And then when I'm at home, I'm tracking very accurately with my scale. I'm using grams even just because you can. And like, why wouldn't you use the thing that is the most accurate that you can?
Yeah. You're already doing the work.
And that's all, yeah, helping me stay on top of things while giving me flexibility to live my life. I mean, I'm still going out and having my date nights. I'm still enjoying a glass of wine here and there. I don't drink a lot anyway anymore. There's just something that comes with having multiple kids. I don't I don't over caffeinate and I don't drink a lot anymore. Those two
Yeah.
things have kind of fallen by the wayside. If I had to cut out more calories, maybe I'd be wishing I had the caffeine to help like keep me from being hungry. But we
Yeah.
didn't cut out so many calories that I'm like starving out. Like
Yeah.
I'm perfectly content. I'm like a teeny bit hungry at night sometimes, but
Mhm.
like it's not super uncomfortable. I don't wake up in the middle of the night starving and wish it. Like we have strategies. I always have a banana before bed. My kid always begs for one more thing to eat, even though he did not eat his dinner, kind of thing. And so we just started a tradition. I was like, cool, I'm going to have half a banana. You have half a banana. We've got some carbs right before we go to bed. We're both going to sleep like babies. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So we just have little things like that. And I can plug that in at the beginning of the day. I know that's already accounted for. That's already a done deal. Calculate out the rest as I need to.
I love that. That's so valuable, everything that you just said there. I love how you were talking about, and I remember you posting it in the reel, you explained it really well, is you split the difference with the calorie deficit. There's two ways
Mm-hmm.
to add a calorie deficit. You can take away food or you can increase movement. And I'm more of a fan of if there's room for increasing movement, if you can prioritize it within your schedule, like walking during a meeting and things like that. Walking is probably
Yeah.
one of the easiest way to burn more calories within the day without putting too much pressure on your CNS system and making the whole process harder and you just feeling like crap and you don't want to do the things that you should be doing.
Right.
And like if there's room to do that, I'd rather do that than take away food. Because then
Yeah.
the more that you take away, the hungrier you're going to get, the less flexibility and freedom that you have. Because if you're eating very low calories, there's not much wiggle room, right? And you didn't take any extreme measurements, like measures, like you found your foundation. This is like, again, this is why we always start with building a foundation, is because you didn't have a foundation of what works best for you. You would have been changing everything and anything, and some of them would have been extreme, but you found a foundation that worked best for you, that was sustainable. And all you
Mm-hmm.
did was add little things on top of it, like adding 2,000 steps to what you're already doing, decreasing your calories just a little bit from your maintenance calories that you established with Toby. Like you're still have a foundation of what you do at home versus going out to eat. Like you're not depriving yourself. You're seeing results while living your life. So that way
Mm-hmm.
you don't create unsustainable results. Like it's picture perfect. And it sounds like you're having fun. You're living your life, drinking some wine, not as much as we used to do when we were
Yeah.
younger, but like having
No.
fun with it. Like,
I think that's part of it is just an age thing.
yeah.
But yeah, I had cheese curds last week, people, and I am down a pound.
Woohoo! Let's go. Living
So
your
I'm just
life.
saying,
Yeah,
you don't
dude.
have to give it all up. Yeah, this is definitely the easiest diet I've ever been on my entire life, and that's because it's done sustainably, mindfully, and there are no extremes. I still eat plenty. I get all my favorite snackies. That was one of the fun things during maintenance, because it was such a long maintenance and it was just like keeping up with the baby and breastfeeding. I got to explore the world of snacks a little bit more, and I found those Buffalo Wild Chips. I am obsessed.
Did I miss out? What are those?
Obsessed. Wild, WILDE, is a chip brand that it's made from like chicken, bone broth, egg whites. So they're like protein chips. Oh yeah. And they do a buffalo flavor, and now Costco has the big pack. I'm in love. They're
All right,
so
ladies and
good.
gentlemen, we're going to have to wrap this up. I'm going to have to go to Costco really fast.
Run,
What?
don't walk.
Oh
my
my
God,
gosh, I'm
they're
gonna
so
have to
good.
check that out. I've never heard of that. I'm
Mhm.
always up to date on those things. How did I not hear
I
about
know,
that?
I know. I couldn't believe that you weren't the one breaking that news to me. Finally, I'm ahead of the
I'm
curve.
slacking, man. I'm slacking. I need to up my game on this stuff. I feel
Oh,
like half
Casey,
of
get
my
your
job
ass
is
down.
just finding snacky ideas for you guys. It's like
And isn't that
Costco
like
run.
the best job ever?
Yeah. It's like, here's my job. I show you what I cook and all my fun snackies. Like, here you go.
You watch me eat amazing food, and then you start eating that food too.
Yes, exactly.
Ka-ching.
That's how it works. Oh goodness. Well, I want to just say thank you so much for coming on and sharing
Thank
your
you for having
experience.
me.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot about you. I learned a lot about your experience, and it was really great. And I'm sure that anybody that's listening to this took away a lot of stuff to apply to in their own journey. And I cannot wait to hear how your fat loss phase goes. Everything that we'll have you back on the podcast, and we can just do like a follow up
Sounds
of
good.
like how the fat loss phase went and all that stuff too. But
I love it.
I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And also for everybody that's listening, if you're at the end of this episode and you are still listening and you're coming back week after week,
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I can't thank you enough. Like your time and your attention is more valuable than you know. And all I ask is for if this was valuable to you and any of the episodes are valuable to you and you feel like this is information that needs to be shared, share it with your friends, share it with your family, post it on social media. I think the big thing that we're in need of right now in this day and age is to share the good information. There's a lot of information, especially with the boom of social media, and it's really hard to know what is right or not, what is sleazy marketing and what is evidence based, and it's always really great to hear people's personal stories, because even if you have these guidelines, it's not like nutrition, fitness, we're human beings, it's a whole lot of gray. There's no black and white. There's so many different ways to do things, and again, what we talked about before, it's what works best for you. You need to take a step back and stop listening to the noise on social media and just take a step back and find what works best for you. If you need somebody in your corner, do that. But like, that's where the magic happens, right? So thank you so much, Amy. Do you have anything else to say, a final note for the listeners?
No, just shout out to my girl Casey, because you have just been so awesome and inspiring, and I'm so delighted that I've known you for over a whole year now, and that we have many years to go. And
Yeah.
I just am so inspired by your journey and all of the work that you've done to bring quality information to everyone, because to your point, like it's information overload out there, and how do you know what's the right stuff? This girl is the right stuff. Follow her. Listen to her. She's got a lot of good stuff to say. She's experienced a whole heck of a lot in her we're not going to say how old we are, because I don't know if that's a thing that we do. I'm not going to like claim that I'm a different age, but like
I
also
am.
don't
I'm
know that
so
we need
tall.
to,
I'm
like,
26,
brag about
guys. I'm 26. You
in her
cannot see gray
26
hair
years
coming
of
in.
life on this planet. No, just so wise, wise beyond her years, and just really worth giving a listen and sharing. Please share all this information with everyone, because there's still way too many people out there that need to hear it.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you guys who are listening. But we're going to wrap it up. Until next time. Thanks, guys.